Okay, I hate to be the messenger of bad news here for the Cleveland Browns, but Kevin Stefanski has been ruled out due to COVID versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. So basically, he tested positive for COVID. And not only him, this is where the bad news gets worse. Him, two members of his coaching staff, and two players also tested positive and will not be available for the wild card game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Special team coordinator Mike Priefer will serve as head coach. Alex Van Pelt will call the offensive plays in place of Kevin Stefanski because he does call the offensive plays for the Cleveland Browns. These members who were tested positive for COVID were Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio, wide receiver KhaDarel Hodge, defensive backs coach Jeff Howard, and tight end coach Drew Petzing. And the source for this was Jeff Treader, ESPN staff writer. So Nate, you go first. What do you think about all these positive COVID tests in the Cleveland Browns?
It's just a huge. Well, obviously, we wish them the best of luck. Of course, speedy recovery. But this is such a bad luck charm for the Browns, man. That was bad timing, man. That was really, really bad timing. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna blame anybody for this because COVID hits it. COVID hits at whatever time it wants to. It's Mother Nature, and that's what she does. But you got a playoff game on. What is it? Is it a Saturday night? 'Cause I know there's 3 games Saturday and Sunday. One of those 2 nights. Not either way. What I'm trying to say is that you got a game this weekend, and you're without your head coach, who actually turned out to be a really good head coach. A lot of people thought that Kevin Stefanski wouldn't be a good head coach after he left the Vikings for being their offensive coordinator. I thought he was going to be a good coach, and he did a really good job of turning the team around. But now they're going to be without him. You know what I mean? They're going to be without Kevin Stefanski. That's going to be tough. There's other players, but I think Kevin Stefanski is the biggest player here of them all, or the coach, excuse me. I think this is I think this is going to really cost the Browns. I really do.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And this game will be on Sunday at 8:15 p.m. It will be the last game of wild card weekend. But let me tell you something, man. Okay, first of all, let me start with Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski is the reason why the Cleveland Browns are this good. He is the biggest reason why they are this good. Let me explain something to you, okay? I want people to realize something. The Browns went almost more than half a season without Odell Beckham Jr. And they still won 11 games. So you're going to tell me Kevin Stefanski's not a good offensive caller? They go without Odell Beckham, and they win 11 games.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Kevin Stefanski did an amazing job with this Cleveland Browns team. He did what Fred Kitchens couldn't do. He did what Hugh Jackson couldn't do. He is exactly the Browns' answer right here. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. Last year in the divisional round of the playoffs, when the Minnesota Vikings played the San Francisco 49ers, right?
Yeah.
If you remember that game, there were 2 guys who were being interviewed for the Cleveland Browns job. That's Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the Niners, and Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. And when the San Francisco 49ers beat the Minnesota Vikings, I said to myself, Saleh's defense was better than Stefanski's offense. I'm saying to myself, the Browns are probably going to take Saleh, and we're going to have Kevin Stefanski for another year. Look on my phone, Kevin Stefanski, new head coach. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, Saleh owned him in the divisional playoffs, and he still gets the job. So then I'm going to be honest with you. I was one of those guys that were like, they made a mistake here.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I see the defensive coordinator that I interviewed beat the offensive coordinator that I interviewed, I'm going with that defensive coordinator.
Yeah, right.
Not only did he beat him, he humiliated that offense. So now, going to Kevin Stefanski. He has a great season with the Cleveland Browns. They do amazing. Baker Mayfield had all these questions around him. Oh, can he really throw a football? He's probably an inaccurate quarterback. I don't have a lot of confidence in him. And I'm going to be real. I was one of those guys who was saying that stuff about Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield said, Mario, shut your mouth and watch me throw these TDs and take the Browns to 11 wins. And it's exactly what he did. And Kevin Stefanski said, Mario, shut your mouth and watch me coach this team to 11 wins. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what he did. So I got to give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit here.
Absolutely.
I got to give him a lot of credit. Kevin Stefanski took the Cleveland Browns and made them a contender. It's what we were expecting. You know it, I know it. We were expecting this to happen. We just didn't know when. And Kevin Stefanski was the guy to do it. So here's now going to my point. Kevin Stefanski's out. Browns losing the wild card.
Absolutely.
Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot about Mike Priefer. Mike Priefer was a special teams coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings back when Kevin Stefanski was there. I remember Mike Zimmer, he had to get eye surgery. And he couldn't, and it was a few years ago against the Dallas Cowboys. And he couldn't coach. And this was back when the Dallas Cowboys had 13 wins. He couldn't coach. And Mike Priefer took his job. And Mike Priefer did a good job. We lost to the Dallas Cowboys, but not by a lot. It was like a single score game. And it was off of, in my opinion, a BS call because the defensive lineman put his hand right in Sam Bradford's face. But that's not the point. That's not the point here, Nate. I'm not going to rehash the past. What I will say is this. Mike Priefer has experience of head coaching a team, which is good. But I don't think it's going to be enough to beat this Pittsburgh Steelers team if they're on their game. If the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play like they did the 3 weeks before last week, then forget about it. Browns can survive. But I can't see it happening. But again, like we say, it's next man up. You have to survive this week without Kevin Stefanski. Now, going off that topic, they're also without Joel Bitonio. Joel Bitonio is a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. That's going to hurt them a lot too. It means receivers. And Nick Chubb, they're going to have to be on their game. They're going to have to play good. They're going to have to run it down their throats. They're going to have to get a lot of those reception yards, a lot of those reception TDs. Baker Mayfield is going to have to get that ball fast out of his hands because without that extra protection, it might be tough for them. But I'll say this though, I wish the Cleveland Browns good luck. Anybody who was affected with COVID this game, I hope that they have a very speedy recovery. And honestly, if I gotta be real with you, again, it's just next man up. So Browns survive this week, and then Kevin Stefanski will be back the next week.